What's up, everybody? Hit the like, hit the subscribe button. Want to do a quick broadcast. Basically, I've been seeing this all over my timeline from Cleveland Browns fans. It's past week. Ever since JJ Watt's been released, that's all I've been seeing in my timeline is Cleveland Browns fans crying, wishing JJ Watt will sign with him. JJ Watt to the Browns, JJ Watt to the Browns, JJ Watt to the Browns. That's all I see right now. And it kind of just goes to show how ignorant the Cleveland Browns fan base is. I mean, there are so many better free agent edge rushers out there than JJ Watt. I mean, I get the hype. There was some Cleveland beat writer, I guess, that came out and said JJ Watt seriously considering the Browns. But let's be completely honest. JJ Watt is kind of past his prime, man. He's 31 years old. He only had 5 sacks last year. 5 sacks the year before that. But it's just JJ Watt's not that good. Bud Dupree only played 11 games last year, had more sacks than JJ Watt. Bud Dupree is in the prime of his career right now. He's 28 years old. He's pretty much all the reports I've been seeing about Bud Dupree is his injury. He's recovering very well from his injury. He had a big injury last year. But I mean, he had his surgery. He's came back. I mean, JJ Watt has been through so many injuries these past few years. He hasn't been the same since he had that like 20 sack season. Let's be honest. JJ Watt has not been the same. And as a Steelers fan, I hate to say this, but if Cleveland, that was one of their weakest positions last year, is linebacker. If they go out there and get Bud Dupree to bolster that linebacking core with that defensive line, and if some of these young people in their secondary come back and step up and actually play good, which I don't know, Greedy Williams, he hasn't played since he's been drafted. Grant Telpett was a guy that they had high hopes for that they could have drafted and, be good, but he was out last year. Greedy Williams hasn't played since he got drafted, and he's been getting a ton of hype out of the Cleveland media to be some shutdown type of corner. I mean, their secondary was not great last year. Their linebacking core was not great last year. And to me, in my opinion, J.J. Watt is just past this prime. He's overrated. He's getting so much hype right now from the media, which is ridiculous, man. That's all I'm seeing is J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt. Does he have a little bit left in the tank? Yeah, but there's a lot of better pass rushers and defensive players on the free agent market than J.J. Watt right now. I mean, Yannick's better with a lot more left in the tank. Matthew Judon's better with a lot more left in the tank. Shaquille Barrett's another guy that has a lot more left in the tank. And you got to think about it. Pittsburgh and Cleveland, they're division rivals. They're going to be jockeying for AFC North supremacy next year. Let's be honest. Cleveland just whooped our ass in the playoffs. Whooped our ass, embarrassed us in the playoffs. So if they can go out there and steal one of the Pittsburgh Steelers' best, he's our top free agent right now. And Kevin Colbert even came out and said that he doesn't know if they can bring Bud Dupree back given the salary cap situation. It all depends on what Ben can do, what they're going to do with Ben, whose contracts they're going to restructure, and the money that they're going to move around to bring, players in. And Bud Dupree is going to demand a lot of money. I mean, he got I believe it was $16.5 million last year on a franchise tag. There's already reports out there saying Bud Dupree's laughing at the idea of taking a salary cut to come back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Cleveland Browns have some of the most cap space in the NFL. So if there's any team that can go out there and give Bud Dupree a 2-3 year big contract, $15-16 million a year, the Cleveland Browns can do it. And they can still, one of Pittsburgh's best free agent, a guy that's going to get you 10 sacks a year. Let's be honest. He was on pace to get at least 13 sacks this year. If he didn't get hurt, he had 8 sacks, only played 11 games. So he's averaging pretty much a sack a game, a half a sack a game, a little bit over half a sack a game. So you go out there, you can get Bud Dupree, and what's his name? Olivier Vernon is coming off an Achilles injury as well, and that happened late in the season. So he's really hasn't been the same. He's been going through so many injury problems throughout his whole career. So Bud Dupree is a very versatile player. A lot of people say J.J. Watt's versatile, which is true. He could play the outside. He could play probably defensive tackle. But Bud Dupree, he could play defensive end. He could play outside linebacker. And there was times when Devin Bush went down, Bud Dupree was playing inside linebacker. So Bud Dupree can play multiple positions on the defensive front. And he's just a legitimate pass rusher that can easily get you 10 sacks a year, if not more. Bud Dupree is a very great pass rusher. So if Cleveland was smart, they wouldn't be worried. Or they can even go out there and get a Matthew Judon. Matthew Judon's better. He's still from Baltimore, because I don't know if Baltimore's going to bring him back. I've seen reports that Baltimore could possibly cut Brandon Williams to free up cap space. I don't know exactly what Baltimore's cap situation is looking like, but I see reports out there talking like they're going to cut Brandon Williams to free up cap space. I don't know why, what's up with all that. But if Cleveland's smart, they'd go out there and steal somebody from their division, like a Bud Dupree, like a Matthew Judon. There's a lot better guys out there than J.J. Watt right now, for being completely honest. So if I'm Cleveland, I'm trying to put in an offer for Bud Dupree. As a Steelers fan, I hate to say this, but if Cleveland goes out there and steals Bud Dupree from the Steelers, that makes them legit. That gives them a legit linebacker. That was one of their weakest. That was probably their weakest thing on defense, was their linebacking core. I'd say their secondary is all right because they have Denzel Ward, who's a pretty solid cornerback. But other than that, their secondary is not good. Their safety play was average to below average at best. And their defensive line, I would say, is good. You got Myles Garrett and you got Olivier Vernon. You got some okay defensive tackles. I'd say their defensive tackles are average. Sheldon Richardson. But their linebacking cores, there's a bunch of nobodies. Talkie. There's a bunch of nobodies. So you can go out there and get a division rivals, best pass rusher, second best linebacker next to T.J. Watt. That pretty much makes Cleveland, I think, a contender, because how much does Nick Chubb got left? The average running back shelf life in the NFL is 5 years. Okay, Nick Chubb got hurt last year. He came back strong, but the wear and tear on a running back's quick. You know how many running backs I've seen that were 2, 3, 4 hit wonders and then just completely disappeared? So they're going to just roll with that bell cow, Nick Chubb. How much more does he have left? That's pretty much their whole offense. And Odell Beckham went down. Baker Mayfield played better. There's a lot of speculation that they're going to trade Odell Beckham Jr. because, let's be honest, Odell Beckham's a junior, a diva. Odell Beckham Jr. was, I want the ball, I want the ball, I want the ball. Ever since when Odell Beckham Jr. went down, Baker Mayfield started playing lights out. But before that, the 5, 6, 7 games before Odell Beckham Jr. went down, as crazy as it sounds, Baker Mayfield was throwing picks. He was forcing the ball to Odell Beckham Jr. because Odell Beckham Jr. only cares about Odell Beckham Jr. So I hope they keep Odell Beckham Jr. because he's in the mind of Baker Mayfield. He's in the mind of coaches saying, I want the ball, get me the ball, force me the ball. And that's probably one of the main reasons why Baker Mayfield is slumped off, because his rookie year, he tore it up. His sophomore year, played terrible. In the first half of the season, when Odell Beckham Jr. was in the game, he played like trash. And then Odell Beckham Jr. goes down, Baker Mayfield plays better. So it seems like it's the Odell Beckham Jr. effect when he's on the field, because Cleveland's built around the run. And with that run game, let's be honest, it opens up easy passing lanes. So let's say Nick Chubb gets hurt next year. I don't think Baker Mayfield's that great of a quarterback. Kareem Hunt's good, yeah, but that's the reason their run game's so good. The offensive line, obviously, and you got 2 bell cow type running backs. And I don't think Kareem Hunt is that bell cow type of running back. He comes in when the defense is pretty much loosened up, and he can do different things than Nick Chubb. They have a great dynamic duo in the backfield. I don't know if Nick Chubb's going to be able to play this whole season. So I don't think Cleveland's a contender. But if they go out there and get Bud Dupree, I think Cleveland can be a legitimate contender. As much as I hate to say it, as much as I hate the Cleveland Browns and their fan base who runs off at the mouth like they're like some kind of world-beating team because they won their first playoff game in like 17 years, 20 years, however, that was like however long, longer than that. I mean, it's ridiculous the way the Cleveland Browns fan base just talks trash constantly. So if they can go out there, get themselves Bud Dupree, they're a legitimate contender. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. And I just don't see it. Steelers fans might not want to hear it, I mean, maybe they can make it work depending on what Ben does and what they do with Ben's salary cap. I mean, let's just say he decides to say, well, I'll take no money on my extension. You just split the difference and let me take $20 million this year, and I'll take $20 million the next year. Maybe they can do that. We'll see how they work out and then give him a nice salary bonus. And then if he does that, then the Steelers might, and they do some nice restructures, maybe they can bring Bud Dupree back. But I don't really know if Bud Dupree will be back. I don't think he'll be back because he's going to demand a lot of money. And I honestly think Highsmith can come in and at least give us 7-8 sacks for $12-13 million cheaper. So I'm not so in favor of even bringing Bud Dupree back because we got to worry about long-term and T.J. Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, and Devin Bush. I think that's the main defensive core that we got, and we already got our two great bell cow defensive ends and Cam Hayward and Tuitt locked up. So I don't think Bud Dupree is going to be back. And if Cleveland gets Bud Dupree, they could be legitimate contenders. So I just wanted to do a quick broadcast, talk about this. As much as I hate Cleveland, this J.J. Watt hype. That's all I see on Twitter and social media for the past 3, 4, 5 days. J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt. See all these Cleveland Browns fans, J.J. Watt, J.J. Watt. They're so ignorant that they don't even know that one of the best edge rushers from their division rival is on the free agent market. They can literally go out there and steal a division rival's edge rusher and add to that linebacking core, which is a very mediocre at best, the linebacking core. So, yeah, I just wanted to get a quick rant up here, talk about this. It would be way more intelligent for the Cleveland Browns to sign Bud Dupree than J.J. Watt. But let's be honest, the Haslams, they're not too intelligent. They're probably one of the worst owners in all of football. So I hope they go out there and give big money to an overrated, washed up J.J. Watt. I hope you do that, Cleveland. Please do that, Cleveland. Please. Let Bud Dupree go to like New York or some team that's irrelevant, that doesn't even have a chance. I'll give Cleveland, they might have a chance. But like I said, I don't know if Nick Chubb's going to be able to go through all this wear and tear. And if Odell Beckham comes back, I think Baker Mayfield's just going to go back to pick happy Baker Mayfield. So, and their defense is still trash. Their defense is still trash. I don't care. You think Greedy Williams is going to come? Greedy Williams hasn't played a snap in the NFL since he's been drafted. It's basically been 3 years since Greedy Williams has started an NFL game or even played in the NFL game. You think maybe Grant Delpit can come back and be somewhat legitimate, but he hasn't played all year. And who knows if he was even going to pan out or not. I mean, he was getting a lot of hype, but that's all it is, hype. I got to see it to believe it. I mean, he could be good, but, I mean, he took a whole year off. I don't know if Grant Delpit's going to be the same, if he's going to pan out. So Cleveland's defense is not that good. So hopefully they don't sign Bud Dupree, but if they're intelligent, they would sign Bud Dupree and steal that guy from the Pittsburgh Steelers. But, the Haslams, like I said, they're not too smart. I mean, it's the Haslams.